Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we put up some trailing lobelia seedlings. So let's go. I live in New Hampshire. I garden in USDA Zone 5B. Based on my zip code, my average last frost date is around May 15th. Today is March 26th, and I'm about 7 weeks away from my average last frost date. Here where I live, annual trailing lobelia is considered an annual. I've grown it for many years from seed, and I typically grow it from seed that I've collected. But this year, I also sowed some seeds that I bought, and I'm very excited to see what they look like. On March 4th, which was about 22 days ago, we sowed the lobelia seeds, and I wanted to give you an update on how the seedlings are looking and what the next steps are. And if you missed the video where we sowed those seeds, I'll put a link to that down in the description below in case you want to check it out. Once I had a fair amount of germination occurring, I went ahead and I removed my tray off of the seedling heat mat. If I had left it on there too long, then what would have happened is my seedlings would have become leggy. When I also saw a fair amount of germination, I removed my humidity dome. If I left that on there too long, what would happen is fungal issues could occur, including damping off. This tray has continued to stay under my LED shop lights, which are on 16 hours a day. They come on at 5 a.m., they go off at 9 p.m. And the LED shop lights are only about 2 to 3 inches above my seedlings. I don't want the lights to be too high up because if they are, my seedlings can become leggy. Also, I've been bottom watering as well as fertilizing my seedlings. And I've been fertilizing them because they do have a couple of sets of leaves on them now. Like I mentioned, some of the seeds that we sowed were seeds that I collected myself, and others were seeds that I bought. The seeds are super tiny. So when it came to germination, I had pretty good germination on the seeds that I had collected, although I didn't sow a ton of those seeds, so I was happy with the germination that I had. And when it comes to the seeds that were fresh and that I just bought, I had excellent germination. Now, normally when I do collect my seeds, I usually sow them very heavily, and I usually have excellent germination. I didn't want to sow that many this year because I didn't want to waste my seeds. And you can see I have a ton of plants to get me through for this year, so I'm excited about that. I really enjoy multi-sowing my seeds in small containers like these little restaurant takeout containers. The reason is initially they take up little room under my grow lights, and then only the viable seeds are going to germinate. Once they start germinating, I can then prick them out and I can pot them up into something like a 6-cell pack. And by doing it that way, that ensures that my 6-cell packs are pretty full and my trays are pretty full under my grow lights. After all, space is valuable under our grow lights, and I don't want to have a whole bunch of empty cells under there. A question I often get asked is, why don't I just leave all my little seedlings in this small tray? The main reason is all these little seedlings are too close to each other. It's okay for when they're very small, but as they're trying to get bigger, they're going to be competing for light, they're going to be competing for space. They're not going to grow very well. So it's to their advantage for me to take them out of here as soon as they have a couple of sets of leaves and give them their own space. I love giving the analogy of basically they started in this small little apartment space, but now they need to get bumped up into a condo where they can thrive and have a little bit more room to move. And then they'll eventually get moved up, maybe even into a 3-inch pot. It's almost like moving into a house. That's the best analogy I can give, is as they're getting bigger, I need to accommodate that and give them more room, more space to grow. We originally sowed the seeds in seed starting mix, but now that we're going to be bumping the seedlings up into cell packs, they're going to be planted into potting mix. I feel a lot of potting mixes out there are perfectly fine to use, so whatever you feel comfortable with, you can use that. I have been making my own potting mix for the last number of years, and the reason I do that is it saves me a lot of money. And when you make your own potting mix, you have a little more control of what goes into it. The recipe I like to use for my potting mix is in parts, and a part can be something like a bowl or some sort of container. So I like to use 4 parts of peat moss. However, you can use coco coir, and I like to buy that in bulk from a local garden center. And then I like to add in 1 part of perlite. Perlite helps improve drainage, and I like to buy that in bulk on Amazon. And then I like to add 1 part of vermiculite. Vermiculite helps retain moisture, and I like to buy that in bulk on Amazon. And then I sprinkle the top with garden lime, the powder kind. The reason is the peat moss can be very acidic, so the lime helps offset the acidity levels of the peat moss. If you are going to do a DIY potting mix and you're going to use coco coir, you don't need to add the lime then. I then like to pre-moisten my potting mix. I add boiling hot water and I really mix it in thoroughly. The reason I add boiling water is to kill off any fungus gnat eggs that might be in the peat moss. After it's cooled down, I can then go ahead and use my potting mix. These seedlings are going to get potted up into 6 cell packs. I can usually fit about 12 of those 6 cell packs in what's called a 10 by 20 tray. I like to use a solid bottom 10 by 20 tray so that I can bottom water. The reason it's called a 10 by 20 tray is due to its dimensions. It's 10 inches one way by 20 inches the other way. I love to recycle and reuse items that I already have or that other people have. So when it comes to my pots or containers, I like to use them year after year. I initially started buying them on Amazon or local stores, but over time I've been able to reuse them, but I also can get them for free from family members, friends, neighbors, from Facebook Marketplace, and even a local garden center has a recycling bin. I found a lot of trays and pots in there. So let's go ahead and pot up some of these Lobelia seedlings. When it comes to your potting mix, you want to make sure that it's not dripping wet. So when you squeeze it, there should be no water dripping from it. However, when you let go, it should hold its form, and that tells you it's the right consistency. Here's the 6 cell pack that we're going to use, and notice it has drainage holes in the bottom. That's very important. Whatever container or pot you use needs to have drainage holes in the bottom. Let's go ahead and add our potting mix to our 6 cell pack. It's very important that you fill up your 6 cell pack to the top. You want to press down, and the reason for that is you are trying to get rid of any air pockets that might be in there. If there are air pockets in there, that can cause a lot of issues, and one of the main issues is when it comes to bottom watering, you may not be able to fully bottom water a particular cell. Also make sure that you're not pressing down too hard, because if you press down too hard and compress the soil, it's going to cause problems for proper root development. Always add a plant label, especially if you're growing different varieties of plants. This right here is the blue lobelia, and I collected the seeds, and I collected the seeds of these as well, the white lobelia. I've already gone ahead and I've pricked out those seedlings and I've already potted them up. You can see with the cascading lobelia, there are a ton of seedlings here. You might be wondering what happened here. The seedlings did start to dry out one day, and I caught it and I was able to add water. But that's why you might see in this little pocket here, as well as here, that some of the seedlings unfortunately died because it was starting to get dry. So that's always important to catch that. And even when I notice it, it's just I don't want to spray on top because I don't want to invite any fungal issues. So you have to bottom water just to make sure that you're taking good care of your seedlings. You can use whatever you want when it comes to pricking out seedlings. In many of my videos, you see me using a pen. But with these seedlings, I found that I prefer to prick lobelia seedlings with a toothpick. And I'll show you close up why, but it's just a little bit easier to handle and get under those seedlings using a toothpick. When it comes to pricking out seedlings, I always like to start where there's a little bit of a gap, a little bit of an area where I can get right in and start working. I already started pricking out seedlings over in this area, which is why there's a little bit of a gap. But now I can keep moving forward this way to prick out these seedlings. Because you can imagine if you tried to start pricking out seedlings right in here, it would be really hard. When it comes to handling your seedlings, always handle them by a leaf. You never want to handle them by their stem, which is down under here. If you handle a seedling by a stem and the stem breaks, then the plant will die. If you handle a seedling by its leaf and a leaf breaks, the plant should still be fine because it has other leaves on it, so it can still photosynthesize and continue growing. So I'm just moving these seedlings aside, and I'm using my toothpick, and I'm just trying to get right underneath. And while I'm getting underneath, I'm also gently pulling up my seedling. And you can see there were some other ones tucked in there. And that's a nice size seedling, and it has a good size root there. You can see that this seedling is quite small compared to how deep each of these cells are. That means when I make my hole to put the seedling in, I'm not going to make it very deep. And I'm just using a pen, and again, I'm not going to make this hole extremely deep. We're going to go ahead and tuck our seedling in. It's very important to make sure that you get the root beneath soil level. I also want to get as much of the stem beneath soil level. As long as the leaves are above soil level, it'll be fine. And then I can go ahead and backfill the potting mix around it. Since the seedling is very small, it's okay to go ahead and press down on it a tiny bit. And that's what it looks like once it's tucked in. We might as well go after this guy over here. I definitely wanted to wait until my lobelia seedlings were a little bit larger, just so it's easier to handle them. I feel like lobelia is not necessarily the easiest plant to start from seed, but I highly recommend it. I don't think it's impossible to do. I think the hardest part is the fact that a seed packet has so many seeds in it. And if you sow those seeds, especially the way I did, in a container like that, you end up with so many seedlings and you're like, what should I do with them all? And that's part of the reason why I'm making these videos, to show you my process for doing it. And I just feel like this plant is so worth growing from seed. It's such a pretty plant. And when you buy a packet of seeds, it only costs maybe $3 or $4 max. But then you end up with a ton of plants. The key is just taking care of them and babying them a little bit. This is a plant that I prefer to pot up slowly so I can baby it. I don't want to just put the plants directly in a 3-inch pot. I wouldn't advise that. And you might be thinking, wow, those plants are tiny. They're pretty small. Remember, I still have 7 weeks left before my average last frost date. In fact, I have tried growing lobelia earlier in the winter months, and I have to tell you, it doesn't do well if you grow it too early. It ends up blooming inside, and then eventually it ends up being too leggy. And that can be true of a lot of plants, which is why it's so important to start your plants at the right time. I don't mind a plant starting to bud up or starting to just barely bloom before I bring it outside, but I don't want a plant blooming when I still have 7 or 8 weeks left before my average last frost date, especially plants like this one. They just don't handle well to that when it comes time to transplant them out. And that's another reason why in my videos I often will say when I started the seeds, when my average last frost date is, because my hope is that you can follow along even if it's in future years, and you can start your seeds when it's the right time for your climate in your zone. And I hope that you follow along, because I want to show you like all my plants, including this one, as they get larger, as they get bigger, and then what they end up looking like in the landscape. It really is amazing. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy the process. Isn't that the sweetest little seedling? Someone asked me recently, what do you do when you have that many seedlings? Because they were running into the same problem and they didn't know what to do. What I like to do is come up with a number. Like, for example, fill up a full 10 by 20 tray of these 6 cell packs, which would be 72 plants, for example. Because eventually, all of these plants are going to get potted up into 3-inch pots. That's a lot of plants right there. So I advise to be realistic about how many plants you really need. You can still keep potting up. You can always give them away. I have a backyard plant nursery. A lot of people come and they want to buy these type of plants from me, so I can always sell them. But my advice is to be realistic about how many plants can you manage? How many plants can you put under your grow lights and take care of properly? And unfortunately, there are going to be times that you just can't save all those seedlings. These seeds are super tiny, and so are many other plants like begonias, impatiens, other plants that you've seen me grow. So you can only keep so many plants, and that's okay. Again, a lot of times a packet of seeds is maybe $3 or $4, or in this case, they were seeds that I collected. So you do the best you can with what you have and try not to stress about it too much. So I was busy this morning. Right over here, these are the white lobelia, and that's just a close-up of what they look like. They are small, but they are mighty. And I'm happy. That's 18 plants there, so more than enough. These 3 over here, again, that's 18 plants. These are the blue lobelia, and that's what those look like. And then these ones over here are all the cascade lobelia. We just potted up a 6 cell pack together. Now, you might be noticing that these look a little bigger than these. These will catch up. It might just be that they're a different variety. I'm not quite sure, but that does happen sometimes. And I'll show you in a future seedling tour how these will grow and they will get nice and big, but so will all of these. It's all a matter of when the plant is ready to put on its growth. Since many of these plants have started putting on their first set of true leaves, I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to be giving them a half a strength of fertilizer at this point. And I will be pouring it right in here because this is a solid bottom tray. I'll put about 1 inch of my water, and inside of the water, I have Miracle Grow that's mixed in there. I also have mosquito bits that are mixed in there. I don't want to have any fungus gnats, and so far I haven't had many. And then I basically will put this back, and I would let these sit here until they feel heavy. And once I know they feel pretty heavy, I can go ahead, I can pick this up and I can dump out the rest of the water, or I can take each of these 6 cell packs out and transfer them into another 10 by 20 tray. And there are other ways that you can basically bottom water and then remove the water from beneath. The big thing is you don't want these cell packs to be sitting in water. Standing water is never good for a plant. Once these plants are much bigger, then they'll be getting a full strength of fertilizer. And I did make a video showing my process for bottom watering as well as fertilizing, and I'll put that in the description below. When it comes to any seedling, the very first set of leaves that you see, those are called the cotyledons. At that point, you don't want to do any fertilizing. The reason is the seed as well as the first set of leaves, those cotyledons, have everything that that plant needs in order to get going. So you don't want to give any fertilizer yet. However, once the next set of leaves appear, those are called the true leaves. At that point, it's okay to go ahead and start feeding your plants with fertilizer. You want to give a half a strength of fertilizer, and it can be whatever fertilizer you feel comfortable with. For my flower seedlings, I like to use Miracle Grow. And when it comes to my vegetable seedlings, I like to use Espoma Grow. These potted up seedlings will continue to be under my grow lights that are on 16 hours a day and where the lights are 2 to 3 inches above them. And in case you want to know more about my grow light system, I'll put a link to a video down in the description below. My grow room has an oscillating fan that's also on a timer, and it's on 16 hours a day. It comes on and goes off at the same time as my grow lights. The reason I have the oscillating fan is to add movement in the room. It just makes for overall stronger, healthier plants. Be on the lookout for updated videos when I pot up my seedlings into 3-inch pots, when I pinch them back, because these are plants that I will be pinching back, and then when I eventually harden them off and get them out in my landscape. Leave a comment below if you're growing trailing lobelia in your garden, and if so, which variety is it? Is it a plant that you started from seed or a plant that you bought? I'd love to know. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.